What is going on, guys? My name is Kenji and welcome back to the channel. Hopefully it's not the first time that you're watching one of my videos, but just in case it is, I'm a final year medical student and a biomedical science graduate studying King's College London. And guys, as you know, one of my hobbies is reading. I absolutely love to read, and there's a bunch of genres that I really like, and one of them is actually about love and kind of how to learn to be a better lover to your partner. But before we get started, I just want to quickly mention two things. The first thing is that I have an email newsletter that I put out every single week with a bunch of life tips and also kind of update you guys on what books I'm reading as well. So if you guys want to sign up to my weekly email newsletter, I'll leave a link down below that you guys can go ahead and check out, and of course it's completely for free. The second thing that I want to mention is that if you guys want a whole comprehensive list of all of the books that I've ever read, or nearly all the books I've ever read, I'll leave a link to my Goodreads, which you guys can follow me on down below. As I said, that will contain all the books I've ever read, and also will keep you guys updated on all the books that I'm currently reading now as well. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. And before I actually start recommending the books that will hopefully help your love life just as it helped mine, I actually want to quickly talk about why I think it's really important to spend some time reading about how to actually improve the skill of love. Now, the first kind of reason why I think this is super important is really because of society's perception of love and what society kind of tells us about love. And what really society kind of brings us up believing is that loving someone is not a skill, it's something that comes naturally, just like learning to walk or learning to kind of ride a bike. But I honestly think a more accurate way of describing love is kind of like a skill. And just in the same way, we wouldn't automatically, just naturally learn how to fly a plane or be a doctor. In the exact same way, love is actually really complex, and learning how to love someone in the best way is something we should definitely invest our time on to actually learn how to do that skill very well. Another issue in our society to do with love is the idea of romanticism. And honestly, from the day we're brought up in school, we're kind of sold this idea of romantic love. And while romanticism is actually really important in love, I think the whole kind of idea is slightly flawed. If you can take yourself back to your young school days, I'm sure you've watched Beauty and the Beast, I'm sure you've watched Cinderella, where all these cartoons and these characters meet Prince Charming and they live happily ever after. And then actually, once we move on from school and go into secondary school and high school, we then get sold the idea of Romeo and Juliet, how they fall so in love and how it's so easy and effortless. But what we're not actually shown is that if Romeo and Juliet actually survived and moved in together, they may find living together really hard. Bringing kids up is really difficult together. Sharing a bed with someone and being with them 24/7 is also very difficult. And that's the kind of side and aspect to love which is very real and really realistic that we're not actually shown in the media and in our society. And because of all these reasons, because of romanticism, because of all the problems that we're kind of taught about love in our society, it's kind of no wonder that 1 in every 2 marriages end in divorce, and how sometimes, like today in our society, it's very normal to get married 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Well, and there's nothing wrong with getting married that many times, but I think for me personally, that's something I'm trying to avoid doing, and kind of trying to avoid all of that heartache that is involved with divorce and everything like that. Because historically, when we think about marriage was actually something that was traditionally done because your parents kind of chose the right person for you, or because maybe you want to buy or share a plot of land with your neighbor, and that's kind of how marriage used to work. And I'm definitely not saying that that's the right thing to do or that's the right way to go about marrying someone, but I think there is some beauty in kind of meeting someone and for the first time really trying your hardest to make things work, and kind of forgetting all the potential different partners out there and investing all of your time in this one person to build a lovely, beautiful relationship. But obviously times have changed, and how we see love is also very different to how it was historically. Now what we do have is online dating, where you can go through almost an infinite number of people and swipe right until you think you found the right one. Or you also have an infinite amount of people on your Instagram DMs or Twitter or on Facebook who you can go and scroll through. And I don't think there's anything wrong in particular with online dating. I think it can be a really good tool to actually use to find someone, but I think it kind of changes how we see love. And oftentimes when people are maybe in a committed relationship, when they go through adversity with someone, with their partner, or they face some sort of difficulty, rather than thinking, no, let's stay here, let's work on this, you and I, could possibly be together for a very long time. I think today in particular, it can be so easy to think that the grass is greener on the other side and quickly wave the white flag whenever you have any particular issue with your partner, and then kind of shake hands and break up. And that's kind of different to how relationships and love used to be. Back then we lived in very small communities. We lived in communities of maybe a max of 100 people, whereas now we literally have thousands of people on our phones that we have access to immediately. And with all of these dating apps, I think what's really interesting is that you can actually put on filters on there to say that I want this person who doesn't like this sort of activity. I want someone who doesn't smoke. I want someone who doesn't do this. And I think that ability to add filters to things kind of makes us think that there is someone out there who is entirely compatible to us because they have and they share all of our likes and dislikes in this world. And I honestly think that a different way to see things is that compatibility should be an achievement of love rather than its prerequisite. And that's one quote that I got from Elaine de Botton, which is in one of the books I'm about to recommend for you guys. And I want to present a really interesting idea to you guys. Rather than kind of relying on love as something you should just learn over the course of dating 15 different people and going through 3 different marriages and divorces, how about maybe we actually spend the time now, before we're actually in a relationship, before we're actually married, to invest in ourselves and invest in our future partners, learn how to love and develop that skill of loving someone. So that's why I've chosen to try and not leave my love life up to chance and up to luck as something I should just kind of learn along the path of life. And hopefully in this video, I'll be giving you guys all the books that I can recommend to you guys to get started on your own journey. And by no means am I a professional in love and relationships, but hopefully these books I'm recommending to you guys have brought me a step closer to be a better lover for my partner. And the first book that I want to recommend for you guys is Essays in Love by Elaine de Botton. And honestly, it's one of the most amazing books about love that I've ever read, and probably is one of the very first books I ever actually read about love. And the reason why I love this book so much is that it's kind of a mixture of fiction and non-fiction. The author kind of takes you through a story of a fictional kind of, partnership and relationship. And around that, he actually adds different abstract ideas and philosophies about love and about how to love someone better. Essays in Love is about a young couple who meets on a flight on the way to Paris. And what's really nice about this book is that it takes you from the initial meeting of this kind of couple, how they first meet, and analyzes everything they go through in their whole entire journey of love. It has entire chapters devoted to meeting on the first date, and then has another chapter talking about how do you actually say I love you for the first time, and then also going into great detail about how to manage when you actually find conflict or differences in your opinions in an actual relationship. If you're someone who loves fiction and kind of fantasy and romance, but also non-fiction, then this is the perfect combination, because this book really does take you through a deep, intense love story, but also has a number of philosophical, abstract ideas that you can learn from in regards to how to love someone better. The second book recommendation that I have for you guys is also by Elaine de Botton, and actually moves on from the first book of Essays in Love. This is a book, again, about a young couple who fall in love in Edinburgh, and it takes you through, again, the entire story of what actually happens when you move past initially falling in love with someone, how to actually go about your day-to-day life, and how to actually, involve real love in your everyday human existence on this earth. Why I love this book so much is rather than actually giving us a Romeo and Juliet kind of typical love story, it actually takes it a step further, and you do go into deep kind of depth of a normal life, a normal couple trying to love each other, how to actually maintain love ongoing as much as you actually can. This book and this story takes you deeply into the characters who are actually involved in this romantic relationship. It also kind of allows you to identify with this couple and reflect on your own experiences in love and how you can improve on your next experience in love as well. So that is the second book recommendation by Elaine de Botton, which I highly recommend you guys read. Let's move on to the third one. The third book that I highly recommend you guys read is by Don Miguel Ruiz, and honestly, he's one of the best philosophers of our time, and he has a number of books about love, about philosophy, about life and happiness, which I highly recommend you guys read, so check him out. The author goes into some key principles about love and about philosophy, and I've actually written a few down here to make sure I don't forget them. The first one is why domestication and the image of perfection leads to self-rejection. The second point he goes into great detail of is the war of control that slowly destroys most relationships. Third point is why we hunt for love in others and how to capture the love inside of us. And finally, how to finally accept and forgive ourselves and others. And if you're someone who kind of doesn't really like fantasy or doesn't really like romance and kind of prefers to read things as a matter of fact, then I highly recommend you guys read through this. Not only is it about love and about how to become a better partner, but it also goes into a great detail about kind of personal philosophy and personal growth, and I highly recommend you guys check this book out. The fourth book that I want to recommend for you guys is one of my all-time favorites, and it's called The 5 Love Languages. And when I read this book about love, it completely blew everything I thought and understood about love, and I highly recommend you guys read it. The author takes us through the initial kind of euphoria of falling in love, and it kind of talks about how love normally lasts for around 2 years, or at least the initial kind of infatuation, honeymoon period that we call love, that normally lasts for up to 2 years. And after the 2 years is done, the couple then goes back to how they originally were before the initial spark and euphoria of being in a relationship. And that's when you truly have to put in effort to actually maintain love. And it talks about how we can make this process a lot easier for us in terms of maintaining love by applying and learning and understanding the 5 key ways that your partner and you as well can learn how to love love and show love. And these 5 things, I actually wrote them down because they're quite complex. Not really. Firstly, words of affirmation. Secondly, quality time. Thirdly, receiving gifts, acts of service, and finally, physical touch. And each language kind of corresponds to the types of actions or behaviors to make someone feel the most loved, and also how to show your partner that this is actually how you receive love. And the author says that if you learn these key principles, then you'll be able to indefinitely maintain love in your relationship. I really enjoy reading this book because it actually taught me about how to understand someone else's love language, how they want to be loved, because oftentimes in a relationship, you can be trying to show someone love and they won't actually feel that love because they're like, wait, this is not the language that I receive love in. And that can often ruin relationships because the couple, although they love each other so much, they don't have the same love language and don't know how to show each other love. And not only that, but also taught me how I personally like to be loved and how to communicate that to my partner. And also on top of that, it made me a better brother, it made me a better son, because not only did I learn how my partner wants to be loved, but also my family members as well, because we all love each other, but we all have unique certain languages and also dialects about how we want to be loved and how to show love to each other. So if you're in the honeymoon stages of love, or maybe actually you've passed that in your relationship and you want to find out how to go ahead and maintain love even better, and also to learn a new language, then I highly recommend you guys check out this book. I promise you it will change your love life. By the way, if you guys want to read a very comprehensive summary of the 5 love languages, then I highly recommend you guys do that using Shortform, who are also kindly sponsoring the video. So the thing is, guys, that we all want to learn more than we have time for, and I personally have an extremely long list of must-reads and want-to-reads that I really just find difficult to get through. And that's when Shortform can come into play and can really help us out. It's essentially a service that provides a number of high-quality guides to non-fiction books, and it essentially covers all of the book's key ideas in a way that is simple and easy to understand. It's kind of like having your best friend try and teach a book, because not only does it produce a superpowered summary of a book, but it also gives you its own commentary and analysis of the book, so that you're able to understand a book at even a deeper level. Shortform covers a huge range of non-fiction books, including relationships, health, education, business, law, finance, literally any sort of genre that is non-fiction that you want to read, you can definitely find on Shortform. The way that I use Shortform is to produce videos like this. So the way that I actually planned this video is by going to read these books on Shortform, reading the summary, and then being able to turn that into an actual video. And as well as that, the way that I also use Shortform is to go back to my favorite books of all time, like the 5 love languages, and then I'll go ahead and actually reread it again in order to remind myself of all the key concepts that I learned in that book, and also to see it from a different perspective using the deep commentary and analysis that Shortform provide. One book that I recently read, like I just said, was the 5 love languages. I honestly love reading it again on Shortform because I actually read this book maybe around 4 or 5 years ago and I'd probably forgot the majority of concepts. So being able to come back to it again on Shortform and also read it from a different perspective was actually a really enjoyable experience, and I highly recommend you guys check that out for yourself. If you guys do want to check out Shortform for yourself, then I'll actually have a unique link somewhere up on the screen and also down below in the description to get you guys a nice little gift. They always kind of change what they offer. It might be a free trial or actually might be a percentage off the premium, but whatever it is will be up here on the screen and also down below in the description. So that's Shortform. Let's move on to the next book. The final book that I want to recommend to you guys is the 7 Rules of Healthy, Happy Relationships by, again, Don Miguel Ruiz. And I told you guys that this is one of the most amazing philosophers of our time. And honestly, when I first picked up this book, I thought, again, it's going to be about how to, like, you know, understand love and how to love someone better. But I soon realized in the first couple of pages of the book that it's not really about how to love someone better. It's actually about how to love yourself, how to show yourself respect, how to truly love yourself and be with your own self, how to be a better person. And once you actually achieve all of these things, then you can finally move on to giving someone else love, and that's when you'll truly find happiness and fulfillment in love. And that's really what this book is all about. It's how to treat yourself better, how to improve your own mindset, and finally how to form a good relationship with yourself. So if you're the sort of person that also enjoys, you know, self-help books and books about how to actually improve yourself, and you want to like kind of apply this to a relationship as well, then I highly recommend you guys check this out. You will not regret it, I promise you guys that. And that is pretty much all the book recommendations that I have for you guys. As I said, to be honest with you, I am by no means a professional love. I'm not a love psychologist at all, but I like to believe that these books that I've read and the time I invested to actually learn about how to love has honestly made things in my own personal relationship with my girlfriend way easier. And it's definitely something that I share with her. You know, I kind of recommend these books for her, and it's something that sometimes we often read together. And I definitely believe that it's changed our relationship and will hopefully help our relationship indefinitely. So thank you guys so much for watching. if you guys love books and reading and self-help and all those kind of things, then here is a bunch of videos I made on my channel that you guys will definitely like. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.